Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this completely unscheduled world building session, where I frankly just fancied doing some more work on this, so that is what we're going to do. I have been playing around with it pretty much all day, haven't made that many map changes, just one here in the middle, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the future, because there is the emergence of another race that we haven't really talked about, and I've been kind of wondering how to integrate Drow being the other one, which I'm still not 100% sure about. But I had an idea for the Duergar, and I was like, you know what, they're in. So Duergar are in. I have also been doing a little bit of work trying to make the Digital Dragons page on World Anvil accessible, so it should now be fully accessible to everyone. You just need to go to worldanvil.com/w/digitaldragons Mordred with all the dashes in the right place. I'm hoping I can customize that to make it a little bit more memorable. But it has got a couple of areas. So for example, in the beginning, it's got all the breakdowns of the various beginning bits. Then in the races is the most important because it has the timeline. And I've started to expand on the timeline a little bit to start explaining what is happening and where and why and all of that good stuff. Also, green screen, big fail on that side. There we go, fixed. So yes, I have been busy with those bits, and we're going to do some more work over here. So the first thing to talk about are Duergar. Who are they? Where have they come from? Well, I was thinking, like, in the same way that I've added the boat humans down here, and that was actually another thing which I don't think I did on camera last time. That was right after the previous stream, where I was kind of thinking, you know what, I want to have some humans here so I can have humans logically appearing over on this side. And basically what's going to happen is the trolls finally push across the hills here, which has been the natural barrier between the boat humans and the trolls for a long time now, and just kick them out the marshes up in this direction. And the boat humans basically flee across the sea, going around the marshes, landing over here, and then this is where the boat humans will set up. So we will have some southern humans, and they're basically eventually going to become the half-elves, in my thinking. So yeah, Duergar. What's up with them? So in Faerun D&D lore, Duergar used to be slaves of the Illithids. Now I do want to have the Illithids, but again, I've got a different idea for them. So they're not going to be related so intrinsically to the Duergar. Instead, there is something lurking in this large lake, and it controlled the Duergar for quite some time. So whether the Duergar are still controlled by whatever that entity is to be determined. We might have some free Duergar who managed to break free from this, and they will prove to be an interesting faction that could move down into these mountains, which is one of the major passes between the Dwarven territories and basically the rest. So I feel like this is going to be an area of very high contention. And then also just north-south travel. They are also smack bang in the middle of any trade that could have come immediately from the east, which is probably why a lot of the trade gets funneled down this way, through the Dwarven realms, or landing by sea, going through the Dwarven realms and out that way. So there we go. Strange this isn't on the normal Mordred channel. Well, I thought I should do something to promote Digital Dragons a little bit, plus because it's unscheduled, I don't want it to drive my numbers down too much. The world building is already not hugely popular, and it is affecting my monthly average, so I want to continue doing this, but I do need to be aware of the fact that the Mordred Viking is my main channel, and it's where I make my living. So, Reggie Stark, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the channel. So, for those of you who have not been here before, this is the Digital Dragons GM channel, which is where we usually play Dungeons & Dragons every Sunday. And that is probably where this campaign is going to feature in the future. So I thought, you know what, it makes sense to do some of the building stuff here. What I might start doing in the future also is on Wednesdays, play Ambanar on my regular channel, then basically raid this one and then switch to it. How exactly I'll make that happen, I haven't quite decided yet. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. We'll see if I can make that work. Anyway, so we still have a little bit more work to do. We did the stuff on the northern humans, the southern humans. Boat humans have been added, the elves have been done, minotaurs and the ogres. We haven't done very much with the giants. There was a very big discussion on the world building channel on Discord about what we want to do with the giants in this era, particularly with this border with the Elves, which right now I'm kind of happy just leaving open. I might have the Elves pushing north a little bit, basically saying that they're starting to take out the giant lands and just pushing them further north. In fact, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. So these are the labels. That's not what I wanted. I want the giants. And I think the giants are just one big blooming thing at the moment. So I think what I'm going to do is just have the giants push like right up to the lake. And probably still holding out. They're probably still holding out in the hills, actually. So let's go and just make you 100% for a second. We're going to grab that color. I'll make you 70 again so we can see the background. And I'm going to give you this. Oops. Back again. Like so. But you are losing all of this to the Elves. As elven adventurers push north. This isn't so much a military conquest as just... It's pretty empty, because we did establish from the start that the giant realms are pretty sparsely populated. And this is just a result of that. The Elves are basically seen... There ain't anybody here, really. There might be like one or two per tile. That's it. And then they've just pushed north. Would they have pushed north that aggressively? I mean, considering where these big cities are, yes. Although, what era did those cities appear? Were they here already? Yeah, well, this one has been. So this one we probably haven't pushed as much, but this one I think we would have. So maybe we'll adjust accordingly. You know what? Let's give the woods back to the giants, but only up to the shores of the lake. And they're still in the deep woods here, but the pushback is beginning. Yeah, that's better. This is going to stay as giant. The giants are being pushed back in the south. Leaving this bit looking pretty vulnerable. It's mostly just because the elves haven't got there yet, because they're too busy expanding in other directions. But then let's have the elves. So these are... Elves. There you are. That's not your colour. That's your colour. Alright. Have you start coming out on these plains like so. There we go. That gives us a little bit more elven land, and also gives us a little bit more obvious conflict between the giants and the elves, because that is going to come to a head in the future. Not so much of a thing right now, but it could become one. Yeah, I like that. Now we're seeing some shifting of borders, and I think I'm just going to make a note of that. Do I have a page of the timeline? I don't, but I can just press... No, not that. Is there not an edit button? I thought there was. That's creating new stuff. There it is. Okay. So this is 2400. Initial skirmishes between Elves and hill giants. Now I've actually got... Is that coloured? I was going to say, now I'm finally actually getting a spell checker in here. So why this has gone red, I don't know. Is that actually saving as such? No. So why that's randomly red, I don't know. One of the quirks of the editing software, which so far I've been kind of unimpressed by. Does not feel very functional. Okay, so Duragar done, Elves done, Minotaurs, Ogres, Centaurs don't really change. Giants elsewhere I don't think really shift that much. One of the things that I was thinking of doing though was having the humans begin to push into the Feywild. Because we got them down here, but that's not really Feywild territory. This most certainly is. You know what? Yeah, we're going to start the humans actually pushing into the Feywild. Because that may or may not have some repercussions in the future. Possibly. Hard to say, really. So these are the North humans. They need to be set to 100. I really wish there was a way of just copying the layer colour, as opposed to the actual on-screen colour. Right, so let's see... Let's say that you've managed to encroach right up to the edges of the forest where it starts to get thick. Like that. And then we need the Feywild with the Eraser. So there we go, North Human starting to encroach in the Feywild, which I'm also going to add to my notes. North Humans begin to encroach on Feywild. Because there's got to be some kind of history between those two. And I think that starts now. Alright, what about elsewhere? So we got various humans starting to spread around there, that's fine. Centaurs don't change, Duragar have appeared. That's the other thing I need to say, is Duragar have appeared. Right, we need to decide what to do with the Southern Dwarves. That's who we haven't really done anything with yet. So part of the question here is, how much of this is owned by the Trolls and how much is the Dwarves? Because if we go back to the previous era... it was already there. So I think that was just something I hadn't really touched up yet. Now, the Dwarves have been around a little bit longer than the humans, but probably not massively. Not as long as the Lizardmen. It's basically Lizardmen, Dwarves, everybody else. Now, I would say the Dwarves are probably down here, but maybe not up here in the north. I think that makes sense. So let's have the Dwarves... not up here. We'll say that all of this is still troll at this juncture. Not including... a little bit of the river there. You can see that the trolls have started to... oh, sorry, the dwarves have started to encroach on the river, which was trollish. Okay, so that's troll. Then I need to go to the trolls, and I need to say, you guys are not in these areas. There we go. Then I'm basically going to need to copy that on here. Although we could say that this part of the expansion is now, and then this is previous. You know what? Yeah, that's going to be the new expansion. So for the dwarves, in this era, they're just straight up not over here. This is all troll. They've made it up to these hills, but that's it. Which kind of constitutes their border, at least in the south. And it might be because they're a bit more defensive that that's how they pull the trolls back. Yeah, that shows a little bit of progress in the troll-dwarven conflict. Awesome. Right, let's get rid of the U. Like so. And you can bog off. Nice. Cool. So let's just quickly drop a save on you. Which is starting to take a while. These save files are getting bigger and bigger. World building here, you're getting hooked. I mean, this is something I've always enjoyed doing. I've spent many, many hours doing this type of thing. Alright, so what else have the dwarves been up to in this era? Let's make sure we have them selected. So, when is the Great Schism? (1054). So they've still got quite some time, but we do want to have the dwarves pretty well entrenched in the other mountains by then. So maybe by the time of the fall of Carthage or something? Big sneeze. Oh, except. I was actually thinking there's a better way of doing this. So we have one Dwarven Realm here, and we have another Dwarven Realm appearing over here. It's not going to be as wealthy or as prosperous as that one, but this is where the metal workers really are. And you know what? I think I'm going to add another Fire Giant holdout. Let's make sure we have that colour selected. Oops. 70. Down here. So this is going to be Fire Giant. They do need wood to keep their forges going, so that's why I'm putting them in some of the forested areas. With their capital down here. And then we have another set of Fire Giants down here, which should be black text. And then their capital is actually going to be probably here. So that is going to be another population center. Which needs to be black. Might even put it in the volcano. You know what, let's put it in the volcano. Okay, cool. Now that's important because we now have southern dwarves and northern dwarves. For which we will need to choose a new colour. So the current dwarves are like over here. Let's make them a bit like a grey-blue. Maybe this type of thing. Northern dwarves. I'm actually tempted to make them a bit bigger. Yeah, let's have them encroaching on the trolls too. Let's have them something like this. And then their capital also needs to be positioned. And it is going to go right there. Now the thing with the northern dwarves is they have pretty advanced irrigation, which is how they're able to survive here at all. So even though this is all quite dry, they do have a massive lake that they can use for a water supply. Now, where are the trolls? And then we need to say these guys are the northern dwarves. So we have a couple of other dwarven people starting to emerge, which I quite like. And these are probably the mountain dwarves, and these are probably the hill dwarves. These will definitely be the more populous, but these will be the true metalworking experts. And that's why I wanted to have the fire giants there, is because at this point the best forgers in the world are the fire giants, and the dwarves basically nick their technology. So these dwarves down here probably don't have huge metalworking at this juncture. Months ago you did talk about being able to do world building stuff on the Digital Dragons channel, so it's super to use it for that. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good use. I do think that your colour needs to be slightly different though. Also, your label is in the wrong place. It should be in with the other labels. Yeah, I'm going to make your colour slightly different. Make it lighter, I think. Mostly so I can differentiate from the southern dwarves, because these two would definitely be two realms. By the Side by side. Alright, so... Add a point about the Northern Dwarves. Excellent irrigation, allowing them to survive on the fringes of the desert. Because they are in an arable area. It would be difficult, but it's possible. Because they do have this grassland down here. And then a little bit up there. With a tiny, tiny piece of forest. Okay, cool. Trolls, I don't think change at all. Gnolls and the Devils. Now, I've actually been wondering if I've added them too early. Because I don't know how much I want the Devils to expand. Because I've had a few more ideas about that. Because although I don't like the 9 layers of hell, I do like the different realms. With their various leaders, and that's why you have that social hierarchy. With one in particular, but we'll come back to that. So, how else do the southern dwarves spread? Those are humans. Those are dwarves. I wonder if I should just make like a palette. Because unfortunately, the system of saving these, it loses them really quickly. I'm wondering if I just start a new screen, make it much smaller, like that. Give it a background which is just solid white. That's not solid white. Come on. Irish. And then basically I can make you... Whoops, not you. You slightly smaller. And then what I can do is I can just pick up the colour from them. Rather than having to play with the colours constantly. I don't want you to be as big as that though. Let's make you like 50. Gonna need to squeeze quite a few different realms on here. There we go. So, Southern Dwarves. I would say by this point they've definitely filled in this whole valley area. Now, do the dwarves have any natural rivals? No, except for the trolls. So they're going to have fairly unrestricted growth. They're just very isolated. So yeah, let's have the... dwarves start to take out this whole area. And I think that this may well also be the founding of their big port city, so we need to decide where exactly we want that. Possibly even two of them. Let's go with two. So I was thinking one right there. Then possibly... right there. On the river. And then this is also going to lead to some more border squabbles. And the formation of new borders. Because these are all basically independent dwarven nations that are starting to form. These guys are probably just very urban. So the border is here in the hills. And probably through the mountain. And I think that the southern dwarves should probably own that, because it looks weird that they don't. And then I would say that there has also been some further expansion to the south, probably not so much into the woods. There are probably still some fairly scary beasties in those woods. And then I'm thinking we need to take another look at our resource map. So where is tin likely to have appeared down here? So we've already got 5 different dwarven realms appearing down here, which is pretty nice. Do the northern dwarves eventually build something like Petra? Maybe, maybe. So if we pull up the resources again, so we know that we have tin over here. Is that taking the colour? Yes. And are there any other areas that we want to designate as tin producing? I would say it's probably in here. Well, tin tends to be a bit more coastal, so maybe even over here. Or possibly up here, sparking more conflict with the trolls. You know what? Sorry, dwarves. Your tin supplies are going to be up in these hills up here. Which is definitely going to spark conquest in this era. So I think the dwarves do actually push up this way. And I think I'm also going to place a smaller... 20, must have been a 10. Population center up here. To basically exploit those tin supplies. You should be in black. And let's just get rid of the resources for a second, because... Oops. What layer is that on? Should have been on the resources one. Okay, so I think we decided... Here. And here. And here. And going back to size 10. Black. Populations. And we're going to put a dwarven town right there, which is definitely a little bit exposed. And might well be in a bit of trouble in the future. So let's say that the dwarves have successfully pushed the trolls back to about here. And out of the wood, out of the hills. A little bit of the marshes. Northern Dwarves. Which then basically means that the Northern Dwarves... No, they wouldn't have taken this yet. Are over here. Why? It's because they're the Southern Dwarves, not the Northern. Which then also suggests that there's another border out here, or else this is just a smaller town. I'm actually going to say that it's a smaller town belonging to these guys. So we're going to go to the borders, we're going to get rid of that. And then we're going to make you a size 5. Black. So this Dwarven realm right now is probably the wealthiest, the biggest. But they're also going to be the ones who are under the most pressure. And there are trolls still here. Trolls are still quite primal. The trolls are populous. They are very difficult to root out because they just keep on coming back. But they don't have much technology, no. At least not throughout the time scope that we're talking about here. I don't think I want the dwarves to grow that much more than this. Now that we have the northern dwarves there, that's fixed one of the big problems I had. Now, do we want the devils to expand at all? Not really. I think we do want the gnolls to expand, though. The gnolls are expansionist and ravenous. There's text. Okay, so how do we want them to expand? Well, quite frankly, something like this. Because I have no opponents and they're very, very aggressive. There we go. Devils, I don't think will have changed. You know what, just for the sake of connection, we're going to put the... No, gnolls don't need to be down there. That's fine. Cool. You know what, I think the first rivals the gnolls may have might actually be dwarves. Depending on whether they find a way of crossing the desert. Which then does lead us to the Lizardmen. So what the heck is happening to the Lizardmen in this era? The Lizardmen I don't think I've touched at all. No, the Lizardmen are as they were in 2400. So this is 1,000 years later. Well, the first thing I think I might actually do is the Leonin. Leonin. Because I don't think the Lizardmen would have done very much. The desert lizards probably more than the regular lizards. Because they're still very much at war with the Yuan-Ti, and I think that this town may well have fallen by then. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. So, jungle lizards. Lose that. Yuan-Ti. I've taken that out. I have a feeling I put the Leonin on the Lizardmen. Because I'm not seeing a layer called Lizardman, Leonin. It's right there. I'm just blind. Let's just grab your colour. Leonin. And there's absolutely no sense to this. I'll probably actually get rid of the blotches and just have the name in colour, because you can just click on the names to pick their colour. Okay, so Leonin. Have I thought about how the devils procreate in this world? I mean, honestly, they probably just come through the portal that's there. It likely just can't handle very, very big numbers. So at this point, I kind of think that the Leonin would have started going out into the savannah, finding it a bit easier to hunt in than, say, the woods. They keep down here for the water supplies, but otherwise... have just started to range outwards. I don't think they have any particularly large urban centres either. No, let's have them coming through here. They don't really have anything in mind particularly to achieve. And they're going to have a lot of space. Might need to start thinking about other people to put down here in the savannah. I mean, eventually the gnolls are supposed to get to them. And that's probably when the Leonin really start to struggle. Although why the gnolls wouldn't just... Well, maybe they find the Lizardmen too hard to take out, because the Lizardmen actually build structures and walls and fortifications, so the Leonin probably don't. Alright, so I would say that the Desert Lizardmen at this point are probably doing okay. Spreading out into the actual desert. Again, not really building anything, just taking territory. I'll say that they take the hills because they're interesting. Salamanders, I mean, honestly, the salamanders probably just stay pretty much as they are. So I don't think there's a huge amount of change down here. Turtles, that's another one that needs to probably just take over this island. Maybe even start propagating them onto the other islands. Turtle. There you are. Here we go. Do undead exist as a group in this world? And if so, do you have any ideas about them? Yes, the undead definitely do. And one of the things that I would like to do at some point, and in fact that is something we may actually start doing now, is talk about different disasters that may affect different groups. And one of those disasters is like a rise of a necromancer. Would they go that much that way? I don't think they would. I think they would go more where it's easy to go. And then I think that we're also going to have them begin to make an appearance. In a couple of little places. Something like this, where they've started to begin doing some sailing. But I'm not going to give them any major settlements for those places. Okay, so undead, necromancers, that type of thing. So that would be related to the arrival of, like, taught magic. And also just the rise of different magical schools. So at this point, things are probably still quite chaotic. Some races, like the Elves, probably have more to do with magic than the humans. The southern humans, for example, probably don't even know it exists. Because remember, the humans are innately non-magical. So if they haven't come across anything that can do magic, then why would they even know it's there? Especially at this point when science isn't really a thing. Whereas the Elves are probably wondering, like, okay, I can do these things. Why? And at some point, we will almost certainly have, like, the Elves doing some silly experiments, and then they probably give rise to necromancy. Maybe in the war against the Minotaurs. Yeah, the northern humans would get stuff from the Feywild, and actually that's one of the things I was considering, is where do lycanthropes come from? Well, lycanthropy in this world, I want to say, is more of a disease than a curse. And the Feywild is full of fairly corrupting natural type of magics, of which I would say lycanthropy is one of them. So it is probably around this time, and this is part of the reason I have the humans pushing into the Feywild, that they start to get lycanthropy appearing. Particularly on this northern frontier. Especially if they start to explore deeper in. One other thing with the giants I do want to do is I want to make it fairly clear that they are shrinking. So we're just going to have them losing chunks of territory. To basically represent this. So yes, necromancy I think I'm going to have as a side effect of the war against the Minotaurs. Because at this point, death probably interests the Elves. It's too close to good areas for them to actually live in. No, that sounds good to me. And then just for neatness, remove you from those areas. Storm giants are still mostly present in those areas. Hill giants are being pushed back from there. I would say the hill giants also start to lose their holdings down here. Actually, the hill giants probably start to lose their holdings up here. Because remember, the hill giants are kind of gluttons. probably a few little areas that are just starting to be depopulated. As written, when an elf is born, a soul can reincarnate back from paradise, and the elves experience memories of their previous lives in a trance. Yeah, that part of the elven lore is definitely being shifted. I haven't decided really anything about the afterlife, which is something that we should tackle at some point. I just haven't had that flash of inspiration which makes me go, aha. So if you have any ideas about how the afterlife should be treated in this, go ahead and post them. But I have no idea for myself. Okay, so the other thing I was talking about was the events. And this is something that I've been doing kind of just off screen during the day. What kind of events could we see within different realms, which might change internal issues? So like eruption of a supervolcano, an ice wind like Ice Age, that's from the Digital Dragon stuff, War Mage, revolutions, personal unions, rise of a new pantheon, rise of a new god, death of an autocrat, that's like death of an emperor or something like that. Vampiric influence, lycanthropic influence, rise of a lich, volcanoes, vampiric influences, lycanthrope influences on a local level. No school of magic. Magical accidents. Dragon raids will be much later. At this point, there are no dragons in this area. They will appear. As soon as I find the timeline. Here. 1070s. So not for another 2,000 years. So at this point, I'm just kind of too lazy to remove it, and also I want to leave it there just to remind myself, but this probably doesn't exist. Unless it does, and it truly is it's a legendary dragon as opposed to an ancient one. That would kind of make sense considering the scale. Like, that's like 30 miles of ice. That's a glacier. So, Huonti continue to expand. Lizardmen, I would say, are probably decreasing in size as they're basically drawing more and more people in to fight against the Huonti. Because this is a war they are losing. So kind of the same as I did with the Giants, I'm just going to straight up just have them lose access. Probably not along the river. The river they would keep. Because this is the decline of the Lizardmen. It's not the growth. We would definitely lose a chunk from up here, so probably... something like this. And the Desert Lizardmen aren't really involved in that particular conflict. This is the jungle lizards. I'm saying at this point that the desert and the jungle lizardmen are rivals. Not necessarily in hostilities, but they don't like each other because the jungle lizardmen kind of see the desert lizardmen as traitors, as rebels, as unclean almost. Do metal dragons derive value from gemstones or any precious metals? Probably only precious metals, because I do like the idea of gem dragons being a thing too. And I would say that part of the reason why chromatics are so powerful is because they can do either. Which is why chromatics are probably larger populations. Let's have the UNT starting to push north as well. Just to make it obvious that these guys are kind of scary. This is a problem. I actually really like the borders of these guys, how they're shaping up. Should the Yuan-Ti fight the Leonin as a way to contain them a bit? Yep, that's part of the plan. So my thinking right now is that basically a grand coalition forms of the Leonin, the Lizardmen, the Salamanders, and the Desert Lizards to fight the Yuan-Ti. And the Yuan-Ti are probably eventually pushed back over here. So then you have this great big bay basically separating the two. And then the Lizardmen come back and reconquer all of this. And then at that point it's the Tinkali coming in. That's going to cause a problem for the Desert Lizardmen. But that's going to be pretty modern. Although, I don't think we ever actually set when we want the Tinkali to arrive. Oh yes, we did. 711. 300 years before the Draconics. Did you mention Birth of a God as one of the big events? Yes. Well, not necessarily birth of one, but like the creation of a new one. Rise of a new god. And then there's also global effects, but I'm a bit more reluctant to do those. Like that would be possibly an Ice Age. Not Icewind Ice Age is a regional one. Because that is definitely something I want to do, and I probably will. I'm just not entirely sure how just yet. Right, one faction that we've not touched at all. Aarakocra. And they are probably pushing into the Hill Giants from the other side. We're actually 100% sure how you spell them. Double A. Do Aarakocra have good constitution? Because it would make sense then struggle with diseases to have a small realm. Yeah, probably. I would say the Aarakocra are probably susceptible to shifts in temperature. And I do at some point want to have a Ice Age. Probably coinciding with the Bronze Age collapse, so in 100 years. I've just realised that I have this labelled as the wrong date. This should be 1300, not 1200. These saves are starting to take a long time. This file is 12.5 gigabytes. Are there halflings in this world? And if so, what are they doing at this current time? There are, but they don't exist yet. So halflings will appear right after the founding of Rome. Which is here. Of course, halflings are basically gnomes and humans. They're half gnomes. Which is still why we do need to come up with an idea of what a half-elf, half-gnome would be, because all three races are compatible with each other. They'd probably be rarer, and they would probably occur somewhere up here. I was thinking previously drow. I'm not entirely sold on that, though. Swerfneblin, maybe? Although of all the underground subterranean races, Swerfneblin are probably the only one where I can kind of go, yeah, alright, I can see them actually working underground. Are undead mindless or not? Can they make nations for themselves, or is a lich needed? Depends on the undead, but generally yes, undead would be mindless. I'm not, I think, going to classify vampires as undead. They're too interesting. Liches and necromancers would be required. That's not to say that we can't have necromancer realms. That's definitely going to be possible, but for that you need to have reached a certain mass of population density, which we haven't reached yet. Maybe the Swerfneblin were forced underground during the explosion and live under the lake. That's the gnomes. That's why the gnomes haven't appeared yet. The gnomes are in these mountains, deep underground. And yes, like Ionic Naga said, no specific Underdark, because I think it's just horribly unbelievable. But there are definitely caverns. But it's a hell of a lot of work to excavate a cavern with no technology, no drilling or mining technology. So it's definitely not Faerun levels of there's an entire world under this one. No. Like, even the Dwarves are not subterranean. The Dwarves are They have an affinity with the mountains. They can live up in the mountains, but they don't live in them. And of all of the surface, potentially subterranean races, the dwarves would be the ones who could do that, but why? It's such a huge effort. Just build your cities on the surface like everyone else. The one thing the dwarves would do is tunneling. Tunneling is reasonable, especially when you're in a big mountain network. So, for example, I eventually want the dwarven capital to be in here. I think it was actually going to be in there, this dormant volcano. That probably is a subterranean city because they just excavate the lava tubes. And there's going to be a tunnel which basically goes through here to connect this realm with this. And then that's going to allow trade basically to bypass through here. If they want to, if they need to. But that's an exception, not a rule. And yeah, fortresses. Like, another one that might be subterranean would be the fire giants, because they generally live in and around volcanoes. Which is why we have fire giants down here, and also up here, and in these. And fire giants are the, at this point at least, the top metallurgists. They might even be a, like, early Iron Age at this stage. The problem with the fire giants is nobody likes them, and they don't like anyone else. They are ultra isolationists. Right, and then the other thing I needed to do was make sure I don't have that file open, which I do. Map creation, rise and fall. Delete this file. And change this file's name to 1300, although that one's actually old and needs to be replaced with the more up-to-date one. But I think we have now fixed every nation here. Except for the Aarakocra's realm. Needs to go back down to 70. Yeah, good. I hadn't realised there's only 100 years difference between Greek city-states and the Bronze Age collapse. Oh no, it's the Greek colonization. That's the human explosion. I keep thinking it's here, but it's not. So Bronze Age collapse is basically when the Minotaurs start pushing the Elves back. And when they've taken over the majority of the ogres. So in 100 years, there's going to be a massive conquest by the Minotaurs. That's effectively their golden age. Are they able to manufacture steel or just wrought iron? At this point, definitely just steel. Like, remember, we're 1300 BC. This is the time of the Hittites, the Minoans, and the Greeks. And the ancient Egyptians. Bronze Age. Mid-Bronze Age. Now, are there any random events that I want to... Okay, so, brainstorming session. I want to come up with more potential issues. Give me some more. Throw me some ideas. Personal unions, death of emperors, magical accidents, stuff like that. But if you make the Wood Elves the Eladrin and then the Gnomes Elves, you make the Wood Elves, make them shorter. So the Wood Elves are in the Feywild. They're part of the reason why the Feywild is so dangerous. They're very much like Mirkwood. They don't like outsiders. Rise of the Egypts has already happened. That's the Elves. That's not what I was looking for. Not building disasters. More generic. These are events that can occur to anyone. And then if we decide, you know what, these guys need to be weakened, then we basically trigger one of these events. Witch hunts, inquisitions. That's not bad. Audius outbreaks. Disease outbreaks. Plagues. Disease outbreak. Civil War. Rebellion. Drought, thank you. Now we're getting it. Droughts could even be regional. Bandit infestations, monster attacks, nature's revenge. Magic storms, yeah. Because yes, you're right, promescence can be found on the surface and it can also affect stuff. Opening of a new portal! That's a pretty big deal. Famine. Goes with the drought. New god would be Rise of a New God. I'm not going to say Birth of a New One, that's a little too sudden. That would very much be in over tens if not hundreds of years. New spell? New spell effect? I'm trying to think of things that could happen with magic. You know what? Monster attack could happen on a national scale as well. New resource discovery. That can also be a local event. Because that's something I do need to look into, is like all the different radical technologies that happened over the different eras. Like, when was the stirrup invented? When was different animals domesticated? Which I think is actually technically before this timeline starts. When was Kareen built ships instead of Carrick built? Depletion of a mine. Yep. That's good. Like, new resource discovery could also be gold rushes and things like that. Regional, new trade routes opened. That would be things like the arrival of the Silk Road. Forest fire, I'll put that under resource depletion. Yeah, we have new technologies, new spells, we have new schools of magic. Actually, you know what? Ruins or Vault opened, because that can have a pretty radical change. Just random adventurers doing stuff. Meteorite. Would that be regional or national? Probably regional. I mean, you know what? Let's put it on both. So national, just so we're using the same terminology. National would be like the boat humans. Regional would be like this whole area. Which is why national tends to be more state-related, whereas regional is more natural. Recession. Because at the moment we're very much geopolitical because we're so far back in time. But as we get closer and closer to the start date, so probably from like the 1000s onwards, we're going to want to start tracking things like personal unions, like realm level stuff as opposed to race level stuff. Conjunction of the planet's planes. I'm not sure that would really have an effect in this one. Because we don't really have plane to planets. The closest we would come to for that would be the opening of new portals. Because there is definitely portal magic. I wouldn't say it's common, but it's possible. And there are a couple of things that we'll need to set rules for, like healing magic. How much can you heal with that? Because a single cleric could basically put the entire medical profession out of business. Druids put farmers out of business. Like a single druid with the right spells can just make an entire area fertile. There would need to be limits on that type of thing. Lesser restoration, greater restoration. What can they actually do? Remove curse. Is it one casting or is there more linked to that? Teleportation. Teleportation circles. Can you ship goods via teleportation? Or just people? because if you just open teleportation circles, which you can move stuff through like portals, then you don't need shipping or logistics anymore. Ooh, omens. That could be national and local. We could also have prophets, religious figures. Invasions, though. Invasions aren't really an event that we would track on this level. An invasion is a geopolitical thing, which I'm factoring in anyway. Still, actually, invasion and warfare. Earthquakes. Yep. Not thinking of anything else immediately. River culling red. That would be an omen. Alright, I'm going to say that that's pretty good for now. So, looking back at the timeline, we have the Bronze Age collapse next. I think that's probably what we should start working on. Yeah, monster attack would be that. Reggie. Probably. Alright, let's go and save you. Because this is now the state of the world in 1300. Now we need to do 1200, which is the Bronze Age collapse. Actually, no we don't. We need to do some more borders. Because the only ones that are kind of unified, and part of the point here was that they are unified, as the Elves. So this is one empire. The humans most certainly are not on that level. To the extent where I think we would have a border coming through the hills. Like so. So we have these guys beginning to rise. These little guys, they're all independent as well. And then down here, the southern humans. We should also work out where the tin is down here. Probably down these ways. So these are probably Still Copper Age. So even though the southern humans might be more populous than northern humans... Wait, do they even have tin? Part of the reason that they might be doing the colonies is to find tin. Well, you know what? This is probably a tin source right here. Because tin tends to be on the coast. And I would say that this looks like a tinny area. And probably in here too. So how long does the Bronze Age last? How long is this going to be relevant for? Iron Age. Took place in the wake of the Bronze Age collapse. Started in the Mediterranean basin, but didn't make it into northern Europe until about 500 BC. Okay, so these southerners probably don't have it until later, especially if they're not really in contact with these guys. Because the boat humans are going to allow trade between these. The southern humans may not yet be known. So the Bronze Age is probably going to last a bit longer in this setting. You know what? Let's also make this tin. And then over here... This is probably one of the biggest tin mines. Which will mean that this area has pretty explosive growth. So you can see how strategic this region is. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, whoever colonizes this are going to have a big advantage. So the northern humans are probably going to be the most metallurgically capable. For the next 500 or 600 years. Portals will have some too. Lizardmen. These hills being tin deposits is a pretty good reason for the Lizardmen, or for the Yuan Ti, to have conquered that early. There's nothing really along the coasts here, nor there. Right, in the Dwarven areas, this is another bit. You know what? I could see this being tin. Which is why there's borders here. They're all fighting over that. Oh, wait, no, we have the tin up here. That's why they're fighting against the trolls. Nope, nope, nope. That makes more sense. Probably not going to be relevant, but there's a big old tin mine down here too. Cool. I like it. Right, so that was going to change the dynamics down here a little bit, at least. And it's going to make this region very, very important for both sides. So, that's probably part of the reason why the Yuan-Ti are beating the Lizardmen. If we're talking a technological perspective. I'm going to say that the Lizardmen are in the mountains. This is one of their main fortifications. They've dug in there, but they can't get any further. Where's Lizardmen? Grab that colour. Lizard. With a J. Size 50. Yeah, that makes a bit more sense as a border now. How organised are the trolls? They just one big kingdom or lots of small villages? Very poorly organised. The main thing is they're just hard to kill. There's a fair number of them and they are hard to kill. Which is why some races have seen some success against the trolls. For instance, the Dwarves. I've managed to push them back over here if there's enough reason for them to do so. But it is difficult to do. And costly. Cool. Right, let's save this. And now I think I'm ready to transition to the next era. Although there is only 10 minutes of this stream left, so I don't think it's quite really worth starting the boat age, the boat people collapse. Bronze Age collapse, rather. Most important resource to place. That's true, actually. Sure, let's take a look at that. This is gonna be a mighty blue. Wait, what is this? No. Resources. Coincide usually with previous ancient civilizations because the gods would have faded there. Yeah, so a lot of the primescence will actually be focused up here in the north. So, part of my thinking is the dragons, the djinn, and especially the titans were responsible for primescence. So I think this forest is going to become a bit of a magical forest. Same with this forest. This is part of the reason why it's so thick. And this marsh here with the wetlands. The hills just beyond. Feywild. The deepest, darkest part of the Feywild. Is going to be one of the biggest sources. Which is part of the reason why the Feywild is so magical. The other reason is because it was in the path of the fallout. From the explosion. Like a large bit of the fallout just settled over this bit. So this is probably the most dangerous part of the Feywild. This bit is probably just the most mutated. I'd say there's Lakers too. Isn't Promescent a particularly good fertilizer? No. It's definitely something you mine or extract. So I'd say it's probably most frequently found in mountains. Like perhaps these mountains right here. Because like I said, I want to have most of the Promescents up here in the north. I think the fire giants will probably have access to some. Let's put a deposit in this glacier right there. And under this glacier too. Then I would say that there should be some down here in the Lizardmen areas. So the salamanders, part of the reason that they have evolved in the way that they have is because there is a deposit right there. I'll also say that there is some here, which is what has allowed the jungle to grow as thickly as it has. Similarly, a little piece there. Now in the desert, the center of this mountain is going to be a big area of it. Won't come up for a while, but at some point it might be useful to keep track of the generations of the longer-lived species. If the players started in the 1400s, they can meet elves whose parents were alive in year one. Elves are definitely not that old. Like, I would say the extreme age will be about 300. And I think it's probably the gnomes which are the oldest. I just don't see elves being that old. 120 maybe. Humans probably 80, 90. Dwarves. Dwarves and elves are probably about the same. In fact, just to say as a screw you to the elves, let's make the dwarves 150. In fact, that's probably something which is worth tracking. So that would be under articles, races, origins. Now let's make a new article. Race, ages. I mean, we should really just make a profile. Now let's leave it in origins. Ages. And let's open this up as a proper document. So ages is going to be a headline. So humans, elves, dwarves, gnomes, halflings, dragonborn, kobolds, orcs, goblins, hobgoblins, centaurs, minotaurs, so humans, longevity, that's the better word for it. And we're going to say race followed by age they're considered an adult followed by maximum. So humans 18, 80. Elves probably mature slower, so 25, 120. Dwarves mature quicker, 20, 1. No, probably less than that. Make them 140. Gnomes 18. Gnomes are actually about the same as humans, but they do live a lot longer. Now this means halflings being half gnome, half human. I actually kind of like the idea that halflings would live longer. Let's make them 150. So age of majority I'm going to say is 18. I'm actually going to make humans 16. And then make you 150. I think gnomes are too much. Let's make you 250. Dragonborn. Dragonborn are probably similar to humans. Maybe 90. Kobolds. Kobolds are young. Orcs, same as humans. Goblins, similar to kobolds. Make you 50. Make you 40. Hobgoblins. Now the advantage that hobgoblins have is their age of majority is older. I'm going to make them 100. Is that too much? Maybe. Centaurs. So they probably start relatively young, but then go on until a decent age. No. 70. Minotaurs. Minotaurs I do think would make it quite old. So by far and away the longest lived race right now are gnomes. See Reggie. Starting off for the last time in a while, going on a digital detox. Ooh, enjoy. I think for the hobgoblins it's more when they're recognised as adults. They probably mature at about the same speed as a goblin. In fact, you know what? Hobgoblins are a martial society. Let's make them 16. Halflings are too late. Let's make them 18 like the gnomes. No, I know I don't have giants or dragons on here, but I don't want to worry about them yet. And I'm going to say that tieflings and Aasimar are the same. As humans. Well... no. Oh, Leonids. Tieflings, I wouldn't say, are older. I don't actually know what the life expectancy of Leonids are. Leonin. $80 to $100. Is that page gone? There it is. $13. $16. Same as centaurs. The only I would say probably make it fairly old, so make you to 100. I think something like this. So yeah, elves definitely don't live to 1,400. 120. But the difference I would say between the elves and the dwarves is that elves more often make it to the higher end, whereas dwarves probably don't. Because remember, there's a maximum. Just because there are more cautious people. But not always. Okay, save. So, there you go. Longevity is decided. Definitely not. Definitely not, like, final confirmed, this is never going to change. Very much subject to change. But I think that this is a good place to end it. I think that we've kind of naturally come to an end here. Next time we will start looking at the next era, which is going to be Bronze Age collapse. So arrival of the boat people, fall of the Elven Empire, attack of the Minotaurs, attack of the Hill Giants. That's probably also going to coincide with an Ice Age. You know, just to have the hill giants push south for that. Same as the Aarakocra. The Aarakocra are also going to be pushed south. And the boat humans will suddenly appear over there in large numbers. Maybe some of them over here as well. South humans will continue going along the rivers. The war between the Yuan-ti and the Lizardmen will continue. And it'll be very much the northern human population explosion in the next era after that, which is the Greek colonization. I mean, that's 500 years' time from now. Still a ways. Well, no, because we're doing the map at 700 BC. Which means that many of those colonies will have already been established, because that's kind of the height of the Greek colonization. Anyway, I think that this is going to be a good point to stop. So thank you everyone for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. I know this was a bit of an off-the-cuff stream here on Digital Dragons GM, but I've been kind of staring at this map all day going, what if I move these guys here? What if I move these guys here? What if I do this? What if I do that? And also just tidying up a little bit more of the documentation of the main World Anvil stuff. So if you head to worldanvil.com/w/digital-dragons-mordred-viking, you should come to the homepage of all of this. Then you'll be able to go to the various articles which you can get through the World Codex through the links here. So for example, the timeline is the big one. The timeline is the one that we are getting the most information from, and it's probably the one that I'm keeping the most up to date at the moment. Anyway, no stream. No, there is stream tomorrow. Tomorrow is Saturday, where the plan is Stellaris, followed by Hearts of Iron 4. I still have no idea what I'm going to do for Hearts of Iron. I was kind of hoping that there would be an Old World Blues update, but there isn't yet. I don't really want to do vanilla. Yeah, I don't know. We'll work it out. Anyway, that is all for me for now, so thanks everyone for watching. I will catch you all next time. Next world building session will be on Wednesday. Until then.